Hey guys, Bill Straub back at you one more time for another quick hitter. And this one is relatively new. I was kind of excited about this when it came out, just because there's not a lot of these on the market, and this is the new Woodford Reserve Kentucky Straight Wheat Whiskey. Now, typically when you think of wheat whiskey, there's not a lot of them out there. There's a Masterson's, there's an OYO, a few other ones, and they really do run the gamut from how they make them and what the mash bills are. In the case of Bernheim whiskey, this is probably the most well-known and the easiest to find. It's about 30 bucks. Like most everything made in Kentucky, it tends to be kind of a bourbon spin on a different type of whiskey. And by that I mean, if the minimum to be a wheat whiskey, just like a rye, is 51%. So for example, a rye whiskey needs to be a minimum of 51% rye in the mash bill. In this case, it needs to be 51% wheat. Kentucky doesn't really push the envelope on that. They go 51% and then they throw in their standard bourbon ingredients past that. So what you get is kind of a bourbon-y spin on a different type of spirit. Woodford took a different step on that. They did indeed do the 51%, which, you know, I kind of wish people would push the envelope a little bit more on that. But instead of just doing wheat, corn, and malted barley, they did the 51% wheat, and then they added corn, rye, and malted barley. So there's even some rye in this. Now I have tried this before. I didn't freshly open this bottle for this today. What I will say is that it's a little bit different. I did bring out an example of something else that Woodford put out recently, which is their straight malt whiskey. Kind of the same concept where they went 51% malt. Not real good at pushing the envelope, and a lot of Kentucky distilleries fall into this. Woodford Reserve is probably as guilty of it as anybody. What you come out with on this is something that's really different from other wheat whiskeys, but it's not hugely different from Woodford Reserve. Just like the malted whiskey, the malt whiskey, it's relatively bourbony, and it tastes a lot like Woodford Reserve. In this case, it tastes like Woodford Reserve with a lot of orchard fruits in it, so apples and pears, very much green apples and pears. Very prominent on the nose, maybe some white grapes. I apologize that my light over here just went down to about 50%. The battery must be going dead on it. Yeah, again, that's really the dominant flavor here is that orchard fruit. To me, it just smells like fresh apples and pears, maybe a fruit salad of some sort. Very much carries through to the palate. Now this is bottled at 90.4 proof, like pretty much all of Woodford Reserve is. And it's different enough. It's interesting. It's much like the malt whiskey. My one real complaint is that they're not really willing to commit to it. If you want to do a wheat whiskey, you want to do a malt whiskey, don't do 51%, do 70%. You know, try something a little bit different. Give us a different flavor that really deviates from standard Woodford Reserve. We can get Woodford Reserve. We can even get the rye, which I think is pretty good too. Step out of your comfort zone a little bit and give us something really different, something really fun. In this case, it's fine. It's inoffensive. It has that fruit flavor to it that you don't typically get in a wheat whiskey, which is why, to me, it almost tastes like a bourbon finished in a brandy barrel, if that makes sense. So I guess what it really comes down to with the Woodford wheat, is it really good enough to justify a new line at Woodford Reserve? To me, I'm gonna say no. That fruitiness is interesting to me, but in the end, it kind of winds up tasting like a bourbon finished in brandy barrels. It doesn't do it for me. I much prefer Bernheim straight wheat. It at least has an age statement, and it tastes like wheat whiskey. It tastes like a really heavily wheated bourbon or something like this. This tastes like someone poured bourbon over a pear or apples or something like that, which is fine, but it's not different enough from Woodford Reserve to really, for me, justify going out and grabbing another bottle. I'm glad I have the one I have, just because I have hundreds of bottles spread around here through the compound, but This isn't something I'll be replenishing once this one eventually is gone. So my recommendation, kind of hold off on that. If you like what we do, please consider supporting us on patreon.com. It's patreon.com/ModernThirst. Every little bit helps. We're going to try to have some giveaways for Patreon supporters here at the end of the year. Also, check us out at ModernThirst.com. Hundreds of whiskeys reviewed, lots of news. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe on YouTube. Very important for everybody. Otherwise, thanks a lot for watching. Have a great day and cheers.